Right, good afternoon. I'm Michelle from Inspira, and I hope you're enjoying today's Careers Fair. Welcome to this talk on our future careers opportunities in Cumbria. During this session, Joe Tate from Cumbria Lep will guide you through and help you develop your understanding on the county's labour market. At the end of the session, there'll be the opportunity to ask questions, so please add these to the live chat as we go along or at the end of the presentation, and Joe will try to answer as many as she can. Over to you, Joe.
Okay, thank you very much, Michelle. Okay, so I'm going to have a chat with you for about half an hour around the opportunities that are available to all of you in Cumbria. So as Michelle said, unfortunately, I can't see any of you. I can see in the corner that there's quite a lot of people on the call, but I can't see any of you. So if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat and Michelle will brief me as to what they are and we'll try to answer them either as we go through, or probably it might be better to leave it till the end. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do with you today, and it's difficult because I know that some of you are in whole classes and some of you are at home and some of you might be with your parents. So I can't do lots of interactive elements, which is what I would really like to do. But I'm going to work through the following aims. So basically, I want you to have an understanding of what labour market information is. So hopefully by the end of it, you will. To help you understand the context in Cumbria. So when we're talking about Cumbria opportunities, it's really thinking about what's available to you, whether that's this year, next year, or the year after, or even a few years in the future. I'm going to highlight the world of work and how it's changed, because there have been some very significant things that have happened recently that mean that the world of work has changed. I'm also going to identify some growth areas within Cumbria, and that's to help you think about where your career aspirations fit with what the availability is of jobs in that sector. I'm going to talk about STEM careers, and if you don't know what they are, I will talk about them in a little while, as an opportunity, particularly in Cumbria, because there are lots of jobs within that sector. I'm also then going to signpost you to where you can find some more information. So don't try and remember everything that I talk about in this session, because I will signpost you to some other places where you can get that information. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to do a little bit of a hard sell on Cumbria, because what we tend to do when we're thinking about availability and things that are on offer, we forget about the things that are right on our doorstep and available for us to access every day. We often tend to look further afield for opportunities, but there's loads of opportunities in Cumbria. So obviously, I'm sure you're aware that the Lake District is the UK's most visited national park. We're also now a World Heritage Site. So there's lots of opportunities for any people on the call that are interested in travel, tourism, hospitality, conservation, all the jobs that feed into the Lake District and the national park. But it isn't just rural opportunities. Cumbria has lots of opportunities with lots of different sectors, and I'll talk to you about those in a little while as well. And it is a really amazing place to work, and I think we forget that. I think we think about the big cities and the bright lights and all those things, but I think we've probably learned in the last 18 months that actually having a nice environment to go out for a walk, having nice places to go which are easily accessible for us, is actually really very important. I'm also going to talk to you about some of the industries and sectors that are available for you to apply for jobs in, or for opportunities, training, apprenticeships in the future, focusing on things like the nuclear and clean energy industry, looking at the manufacturing and food production opportunities in Cumbria. Tourism, I mentioned earlier. There are lots of opportunities with health and social care, with construction, logistics, creative, cultural and digital arts, and the media and the professional services. So having said all of those things, there may be some of them that you don't know what they are, but I'm going to talk about them in a little while. But that's basically what we're looking at. A little bit of a quote here, and I appreciate it's quite small and you may not be able to read it, especially if you're on a big screen, but I just wanted to put this up there. This is from the organisation that I work for, the Cumbria Local Enterprise Partnership, and basically they're looking at trying to grow the economic structure within Cumbria. And what that means for all of you is that there's more opportunities for you, because money is being put into industry in Cumbria. So there's more jobs, there's more opportunities, and what that means is you're likely to, in the future, have a bit more money in your pocket to spend, and that takes back into Cumbria, because if you've got money in your pocket and you're spending it locally, that feeds into the local economy. On the slide there, there's just a little map showing the wide area that Cumbria covers, And we're quite different to other areas because as a demographic, we're quite sparsely populated in terms of it's very spread out. So there's lots of opportunities, and it doesn't look very far on that map, but actually traveling from one side of the county to the other it takes quite a long time. It's quite a fiddly process, but there are lots of transport opportunities to help you with that as well if you're thinking about jobs a bit further afield but still staying in Cumbria. So the world of work it changes all the time anyway, due to new technology and all sorts of things, but particularly in the last 18 months as a result of COVID, there has been so many changes. So you might be sitting there wondering what the future is looking like for yourself. And I think there's a real opportunity here for all of you to be doing things that maybe you'd not considered in the past. So what I want you to think about is COVID can provide lots of opportunities in the future going forward. There's lots of new opportunities that are available. But if we think about what's happened recently and the number of people who are working from home, I mean, I never thought I would be sitting here talking to 70 people in my spare bedroom, which I've converted into an office. You know, I was a teacher. I'm used to teaching in front of loads of people, but this is totally alien. But we've all got used to it, and we've all kind of like adapted new skills. All of you will have had lessons at home, your teachers sitting in their houses, totally alien to what we would ever have thought was going to be happening. And alongside the changes that have happened due to COVID, you know, people have been furloughed, people have gone into new jobs, they've retrained, they've upskilled, all sorts of things have happened. But alongside that, Brexit has also happened, which means that the labour market has changed intrinsically in lots of different sectors. Some funding opportunities have disappeared, some new opportunities have appeared. So there are lots of things that are feeding into the world of work at the moment, which makes it a very exciting, dynamic, but quite unpredictable thing to be looking at. So looking at the trends, looking at what's available, looking at what's available in your local area will all help you to plan your future. And when you do this, when you do some research, when you find out about opportunities and availability and sectors and opportunities in the local area, it's called labour market information, often abbreviated to LMI, but it's a really important tool to help you look at what's available for you in your future. So what is it? It's about looking at the number of people in certain types of jobs. So if you have an understanding of the number of people that are working in different jobs or different sectors, it can help you to recognise whether that's a growth area going up or whether that's an area that's in decline going down. And that helps you to understand how many job opportunities there will be for you in the future. And that doesn't mean if the job sector is in decline, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to find any jobs, but it might explain why you have difficulty maybe finding those opportunities, but they will still be there. It also helps you to understand which industries are recruiting and where they're located. So it can help you to kind of think about what's out there in your immediate community and what's a bit further afield that you might need to go a bit further to find. It also helps you to think about the skills that employers are looking for. So in school, you will have been learning all about those employability soft skills for employment, but it's really helpful and useful for you to be able to know specifically what the employers within the sector you're interested in are looking for, because that can help you to, at this point in your career, whether you're in year 10, whether you're in year 13, it really doesn't matter, but you've got an opportunity to think about how to enhance those skills, how to develop those skills, and how to look for opportunities that are going to give you some experience. So the labour market also helps you to understand some trends and patterns in terms of what's out there and new and emerging markets, which is really quite exciting. So when you think about your career ideas, it's always useful to have a couple of ideas. You may be absolutely focused on what you want to do, and that's fantastic. It's really great if you have that really clear insight into what you want to do. But many of you won't have quite such a clear view, and some of you might have a few ideas that you're thinking about. So it's quite good to have some backup ideas, and those backup ideas might be as a result of the research you've done about the labour market. Okay, so why do you need to know about it? So obviously, knowing information, knowledge, having information, knowledge is power. So if you have some information, it can help inform your choices. So it's always worth looking at things, even if you hadn't considered them in the past. So in your careers lessons, in your employability sessions, in your personal development lessons, if you're looking at a career or a sector that you've considered not to be of interest to you, just keep an open mind, have a look, because it might be that you hear something in those sessions that makes your ears prick up and you think, actually, maybe that is something I would like to do. So when you have the information, it's easier to make decisions. It's always easier to make decisions based on knowledge and information. So the questions it can answer for you are things like, well, we need to go to university to do that. Is it an apprenticeship route? Can I do it locally? Can I work for an employer? So all the questions that feed into how you're going to go about making your career a reality, labour market information can help you with those things. It's also useful, although not the most important thing, but it is useful to know how much you will earn, because that can help to sort of let you to think about whether that's going to give you the lifestyle that you wanted for your future. So we will talk a little bit about salaries and potential salaries in a moment. And also having an understanding of what you do each day. So it's all very well to think, oh yeah, I know I want to be a teacher, but actually, do you understand all the stuff that sits under the surface of what being a teacher is? So labour market information and doing some research can help you to understand that there are lots of things that maybe you weren't aware of that are part of that person's role. And thinking about how the world of work has changed, there are lots of jobs that are new, that didn't exist 10 years ago. Even some of them didn't exist 18 months ago. So some of the jobs I've put up there, they're just a real snapshot of new and emerging jobs. So this is evolving all the time. So new jobs are becoming available. And, for you to have an awareness of them, you don't need to have an awareness of all of them. But if you're interested in a particular sector, it might be that there's a new particular role that's evolving and emerging that is very new and of interest to you. So again, keeping abreast of what's happening in the labour market is really interesting. So how is it changing? I'm going to just go through a couple of the significant changes that have happened that might help you to understand how the world of work is changing. Okay, so new technology. Obviously, technology is continuously improving and being updated. So what that means is that some jobs are disappearing, but as quickly as they disappear, new jobs emerge to take their places. So if you're interested in technology, if you're somebody that's really interested in keeping abreast with technology, there are lots of opportunities for you in lots of different sectors. So, for example, in factories, I'm sure that you're aware, there's lots of robotics that take place, that have taken the place of people on production lines to speed up the process of producing, say, a car or something like that. So there's lots of demand for people with IT skills and engineering skills, because obviously, as we evolve into the future, and if people are going to be using more electric vehicles, for example, then they're going to need a whole load of new engineers to be able to fix the problems when they arise with these electrical vehicles. So it's a constantly evolving market. The second thing is, and this is a really good thing, that people are living longer, especially if you're like me and getting a bit older. It's a good thing that we're all living longer. But the impact that has on the labour market is people are working longer. So they're staying in the workforce for longer. But equally, it creates a lot of jobs within sectors, particularly within the health and social care sector. So people who are living longer, so older people may have some more care needs. So there's more need for health and social care professionals. And that is a real growth area. And particularly in Cumbria, because we are an ageing population in Cumbria, there are more older people moving forward. So there's going to be a lot more demand for those types of jobs. So if they're jobs you're interested in, then that is a growth area within Cumbria. And what I would advise you to do is look at all of the jobs within health and social care. Don't just think about doctors and nurses. Think about all the allied health professionals that sit underneath those frontline services to provide care for this ageing population. Okay, moving on. So the skills of people around the world are improving, and as a country, we have to keep up with that. So you are the workforce of the future. You are going to be the people that are going to be working in the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So in order to keep abreast with what's happening across the world, we have to upskill people in the UK. So there's a real push towards upskilling people, particularly around apprenticeships. So if you're interested in an apprenticeship, there are so many opportunities in Cumbria for you. If you don't want to go to university or you don't want to do sixth form, apprenticeships may well be a really good option for you. So there are apprenticeships at levels 2, 3, 4, and up to level 5 that can get you where you want to be, maybe a slightly more hands-on approach to the jobs that you want to do. So we have to be competitive in this competitive market. So keeping abreast of what's happening in other parts of the world so that we don't fall behind. And then there's a real push at the moment, well, it has been for a long time, but particularly at the moment around green jobs. You may have heard this phrase bandied around, but there are a lot of new jobs that are available that are considered and abbreviated as green jobs, which basically means they are helping to preserve the environment. So if you're somebody that's interested in conservation, in geography, in all the things that feed into those type of professions, then there's going to be some growth in that area. Again, if you're interested in agriculture or land-based jobs, there are lots of opportunities around as well within Cumbria. And then the last one linked to this is that people are changing how they spend their money. And you think, well, how does that affect jobs? But obviously, if people are spending their money in a different way and the money is going back into the local economy, that feeds into the sort of hospitality and leisure industry. So there are lots of jobs where, you know, that feed into meeting the demands of the local community. So there are things like I've said, hospitality, catering, but also around fitness and the outward bound and those type of careers and jobs as well. So linking to that, when we're thinking about what's out there, we need to think about what you bring to the market. So, you know, you're going to be applying for jobs, you're going to be applying for courses, you're going to be thinking about university, you're going to be thinking about apprenticeships. So just with a thinking about qualifications, that most of the jobs that are advertised now and into the future require at least a level 2 or a level 3 qualification. So but 40% of the jobs that are going to be available in the next few years will be for graduates. So that's for people who've gone to university. And if you're thinking, you're sitting there thinking, well, that's not me, I'll never be a graduate. What you need to think about is there are lots of ways for you to get to that level 5 qualification. It might be practically doing an apprenticeship or something, but there is a real push and a drive to upskill people. And I think people coming out of furlough as well are being encouraged to upskill and maybe think about retraining and going into different jobs. So there are lots of opportunities. And, you know, what does that mean to you? What it means is you have to try and be the best that you can be moving forward. So I don't want to go into teacher mode, but kind of, you know, those qualifications, those pieces of paper that you're going to get at the end of year 11 are really, really important. And lots of jobs, lots of careers will want at least 5 good GCSEs. And lots of those will include English, maths, and often science, alongside all the other subjects that are really important too. But if you have those 5 good GCSEs, 5 or more, and you've got some work experience as well, and I know that's been a challenge for you as well, because lots of schools and employers have not been doing work experience in the last 2 years for obvious reasons. But thinking of your future, think about what could you be doing to give you some practical work experience, because they will give you the best foundations into your chosen career. When you go for an interview, when you're writing a personal statement, when you're doing your CV, the more you have on there that you can sell yourself and give examples that you have those skills and experience, it really does help. Okay, so thinking about STEM. So I mentioned STEM before. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and maths. And basically that is a real growth sector. There was a big push about maybe 10, 15 years ago in these areas, and it's gathering momentum because there are so many job opportunities that require those skills, those core set of skills of science, technology, English, and maths. So the jobs, particularly in West Cumbria, say linked Sellafield or BAE or those sort of organisations, they will really push for STEM, high qualifications within those STEM subjects. But equally, alongside that, there's a real need for creativity, innovation, and that sort of problem solving, blue sky thinking, being able to think of, beyond a problem. These are all really, really, really in demand with employers. So I'm just going to show you some examples of some careers within those sectors. I'm going to do this quite quickly because I think this is something that maybe you could research yourself if it's something you're interested in. But there are lots of jobs related to science. So whether that's going into research, whether that's going into sort of the more techie engineering aspects of science, but there are lots of careers. So if you're somebody that's interested in that, I think that's something that you would need to research and find out whether, if you really love science, what jobs relate to science. Talk to your science teachers, ask them. They will be able to help you about, if you particularly like physics or you particularly like chemistry, what careers are available to you if that's a particular strength of yours. Then technology, real growth area, real lots of things going on within technology, whether that's the media or whether that's working within industry to improve IT facilities across different sectors. So loads of jobs. And again, ask your tech teachers, what jobs could I do linked to technology? And then engineering kind of encompasses all of the STEM subjects, really. So in order to get into any of the different careers within engineering, so there's structural engineering, there's chemical engineering, there's mechanical engineering, there's electronic, there's all sorts of engineering jobs. But again, ask people around you, ask your teachers, what availability is there within this area for those types of jobs. And then maths underpins all of the STEM subjects because all of the STEM subjects have an element of maths in them. So again, ask your maths teachers, but also think about, if you think, well, I'm not very good at maths, now's the opportunity to be thinking, right, okay, so I'm probably going to need those maths skills. So it's about thinking about how you can improve that. And again, it's a case of asking your teachers what you can do to improve your skills in those areas. Okay, I'm going to stop talking, have a little drink of water for a minute, and I'm going to show you just a very short video. It's just a minute. I think it's a minute and 20 or something like that, which basically is about STEM. Okay.
I'm working on materials, my shoes will be the best. I like a faster running shoe that's way beyond the rest. I can say, you know what, that shoe design is mine as they annihilate opponents as they cross the finish line. I'm designing blades that operate wind farms. With all the knowledge that I have, I'm feeling totally armed. I'm a legal hacker, I test security systems. In this role I really matter, check my skills, no one can diss them. I can change a tire in 3.8 seconds. I'll be part of history, one day I reckon. I'll make sure the buildings drawn by architects will stand. And I make a lot of money, which is something that I planned. I work with infrared cameras to track down criminals, using top spec technology, keeping crime to a minimal. I fit artificial hands and then I teach how to use them, using the science, technology, engineering and fusion. I design aircraft engines, you see knowledge is power. They fly 550 miles an hour. I'm helping farmers grow more food from less land. With all the things that I know, I thought I'd give them a hand. How about testing gears on mountain bikes? It's the coolest job ever, cause bikes are something I like. There are villages in Africa, they're very remote. I help to make sure they get water so they don't give up hope. Technology on smartphones, what do you think of that? Imagine telling your friends, hey, I created the app. I love my new job, get better every week. And whilst I'm learning new skills, I'm helping children to speak. I mix sounds for bands who are playing big crowds. I love what I do, I think I've done myself proud. These jobs have something in common, important, you know that. They all need science, technology, engineering and maths. I know it sounds unachievable, but it's totally feasible. And then after that, you get yourself on the map. So what are your plans? Cause it's important you care. You know what they say, it's gotta stem from somewhere.
Okay, gave me a chance to have a little drink of water there. Okay, so moving on. Let's think about salary. So basically just go back to that video for a moment, and what that showed you was the plethora of jobs that are available within engineering. So it isn't just about fixing things that are broken, it's about developing new things as well. So there was lots of examples on there, and if you do some research, you'll find out lots more about STEM jobs. Okay, so thinking about salaries, so in terms of the information linked to Cumbria, so in the UK, the average salary for a full-time job, and this is obviously averaged out, is 38,600, which sounds like an awful lot of money. I'm sure that you're all sitting there thinking that sounds like a really lot of money, and it is a good amount of money. Compared to the average UK salary for Cumbria, the salary is a little bit lower. So in 2020, the average UK, Cumbrian salary was 35,750. Okay, so a little bit lower, but let's remember that the cost of living is slightly lower than it would be if they were comparing across places like London, where the cost of living is higher. In the UK, the highest paid job was a chief executive. The chief executive is the top person in an organisation. They're the big boss, and the average salary for a chief executive was 126,000. Other jobs that are listed as being highly paid professions in 2020 are aircraft pilots and flight engineers, marketing and sales directors, legal professionals like solicitors, accountants, etc., and financial managers within industry. So that's putting into context the salaries across the UK. Then thinking about what job opportunities are available for people. So this is across the UK again, and it is in 2020. So obviously there will be some correlation with the jobs advertised that relate to COVID in particular. So for example, the nursing and the care sector. So in 2020, these were the top 10 most advertised jobs in the UK. And these are jobs that are advertised either through the internet or on local media, etc. So there will be some other jobs that haven't been advertised on those platforms. But the most advertised job was for a nurse. And I think I'm not going to go through the salaries separately. You'll be able to access this PowerPoint and you can have another look at it. But it just shows you the range of salaries for different types of jobs. And then in Cumbria, the 10 employers that advertised the most, again in 2020, in terms of jobs, were those 10 organisations there. So at the top there is the NHS, then Cumbria County Council. Cumbria County Council would also include jobs within highways, transport, logistics, social services, examples. And then the other jobs are companies and organisations within Cumbria that have been doing a lot of advertising, or quite a lot of advertising, over the course of 2020. And I'm sure you'll recognise some of the names on there. And again, this is something you can go back to if you want to find out about what these organisations all do. And in terms of growth areas, so if you think about opportunities that are available to you, we often talk about different areas within careers as sectors. So these are the top 10 growth areas in Cumbria. So we talked about healthcare earlier, but health and social care often get put together, but there are lots of opportunities within Cumbria for those, whether that's working within the hospitals, whether that's working within the community, or the whole plethora of other jobs that are available in those sectors. Advanced manufacturing, that's companies that make something. So it could be a really big organisation that are manufacturing on a large scale, right down to smaller companies that are doing things in a smaller scale. The nuclear and the sort of green energy sector is also a growth area. A lot of activity going on, particularly in West Cumbria and in the Furness area as well. Construction across Cumbria is ramping up again. I think it went a bit quiet during COVID, like everything did, but construction, there's lots of quite big projects going on across the area. The tourism and visitor sector obviously has always been a big sector in Cumbria, but with the growth of people doing staycations and not travelling overseas and actually appreciating what's on their doorstep or available more locally, there is lots of opportunities within that sector. Transport and logistics, that's not just HGV drivers, it's not just that particular aspect, but it's also warehousing and the whole supply chain into industry. There are lots of opportunities in Cumbria for those. Professional services include things like accountants, solicitors, all those professionals that are needed to prop up the infrastructure of business. The creative and cultural sector is also a growing area. So that's all sorts of jobs around, includes media, but also things like museums, galleries, opportunities, places that people can go and visit. And then the other sector is the rural sector. So that's all the industries that feed into and support agriculture and land-based industries. I'm going to speed up because I'm going to run out of time. In fact, I'm running out of time. Okay, I'm just going to stop talking just for a second, because what I want you to do, and I'm only going to give you 3 minutes to do this, but just a little, I know that some of you are in big classes, so it might be more difficult, but what I want you to think about is I want you to be able to match the sectors I've just talked about to some Cumbria employers. So if you go back to that one, so there's 10 sectors that I'd identified, and what I'd like you to just do in your groups or on your own or whatever is just have a chat. I'm going to show you some logos of Cumbrian employers, and I just want you to see if you can match them to those 10 growth sectors. So for example, the healthcare, which of the logos suggest that that company is involved in healthcare? So I'm going to show you the logos. So those are, I've just randomly picked some logos from companies in the UK, and all I want you to do, and I'm going to just give you 3 minutes to just have a go at matching them up, and then I'll tell you the answers. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. I'm kind of thinking, Joseph, that I might need to stop because I'm running over time now. So I think maybe should go back into the PowerPoint. Yeah, sorry. So we've run out of time for that, but it's interesting to be able to correlate and link the careers and things. So I'm going to rush because I know that lots of you will be going off now. So just looking at the answers there on the screen. So the area that's got the most logos in it is the advanced manufacturing sector, and that's because that's the kind of biggest growth area in Cumbria at the moment. So hence why I chose to put lots of organisations in there. So if I was with you and if we had longer, I'd really like to spend time talking about all of those industries and what they do. But I think maybe that's something that you could talk to your careers teams at school about. What those different jobs offer. But the idea of doing that activity was to make you think that there are lots of employers locally that feed into those sectors that are available to you. So this is where you can find information. So if after this presentation you want to find out more, the best way to do that is by going to careers fairs, by attending open days and taster sessions locally, by looking in the newspaper and finding out what's available there, looking at social media, picking up leaflets and booklets that local employers have available to you. They can read about what they do. Going on workplace visits, if that's something that you're able to do, but obviously you need to speak to the employer first, don't just turn up. Doing some work experience or placements. Again, some schools are doing some work experience this year, some are doing virtual work experience, but just looking at what's available to help you is always useful. And ask people around you. Everybody around you does different jobs. Ask them about their jobs so you get that information. I'm going to go a little bit fast now because I'm running over. So for you moving forward, what you really need to do is think about your qualifications. Think about having that really positive attitude, developing and picking up some work experience, being resilient, picking yourself up. There will be opportunities for you. There will be some things that maybe you don't do so well at, but that ability to bounce back is going to help you in your future and having that positive attitude. So in the event, there is an activity zone and there is a quiz. There's a Kahoot quiz and there's also a word quiz that's linked to this workshop. It's got some questions related to some of the facts that I told you in the workshop. So have a look at that and see if you want to get some more information and ask questions, go out, find out the information, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of the careers fair. I'm just going to put one last slide up. My sources of information, so I didn't just make up the information, it wasn't my opinion. They're all based on valid, reliable and factual evidence. So a lot of the stuff is from the Cumbria Observatory, but there are other sources there as well. So any questions?
Right, Jo, thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation. It's been really, really interesting. And I'm sure that the teachers and the pupils who've been watching today have got a lot from it. So we've got a couple of questions. So one of them is, why would you do an apprenticeship over choosing to go to college? And what are the positives of doing an apprenticeship?
Well, an apprenticeship is just another option for you, but an apprenticeship is really good if you're somebody that's quite hands-on and likes to do things and sort of see things happening in front of you. So an apprenticeship is an alternative to going to college. And in some careers, some employers actually prefer to train up their workforce. So in those particular areas, it means that the employer has a really integral part to play in your personal development and moving you into those careers and pathways. But apprenticeships is just one of a range of offers. But if you're somebody that likes to be involved with your hands and quite hands-on in terms of being involved, and maybe struggles a little bit maybe with some of the more academic aspects of some of the courses, so for example A-levels, then an apprenticeship might be a better option for you. But find out about the apprenticeships in the area that you're interested in, because that's what you need to do to help you make those informed choices. So attending events is going to give you that information where you can talk to apprentice providers and you can talk to HE and FE providers, that's further education and higher education providers, and then come away and look at the advantages and disadvantages to you as an individual, because it's a really personal choice.
Okay, talking about apprenticeships, obviously, when you look at apprenticeship roles that are advertised, the salary does vary quite considerably depending on the employer. What is the average apprenticeship wage in the county?
Well, it does vary, like you say, because what tends to happen is when you see an apprenticeship vacancy, it tends to be paid by the hour. So often you have to then scale that up into be the annual salary. But certainly, going for an apprenticeship straight after school, you would be earning around £4.30 an hour, which is the national the minimum wage. And then that goes up according to your age group and the more qualifications and the more experience that you have. But what you need to remember is you might not be getting paid very much, but you are getting that experience. You are being given the opportunity to learn on the job. So, although the pay scale isn't as high as maybe some other pathways that you could take, you are learning as you're earning at the same time, and that will lead into a career at a higher level. So it's kind of like, you're paid a fair wage and you're getting those skills at the same time. Okay,
thank you. Obviously, you touched on it during the presentation. We've been asked that, a number of years ago, the STEM area was a sort of increasing sector to work in. Is that still the case, or is there other sectors that are sort of overtaking that now?
There is a lot of opportunities in Cumbria for STEM jobs. But alongside that, obviously, with travel, tourism and hospitality, there are lots of opportunities within that sector and also within the health and social care sector. And manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, is also something that is kind of aligned to STEM, but kind of can bring in different skills as well. And what you need to try and think about is, I know that lots of you will think, for example, Sellafield, massive employer in the area, that it's just about engineering, but actually there's a whole workforce that work in Sellafield that do lots of different things. They even have their own police linked to them, and there's the hospital, they have canteen facilities, they have HR, they have finance. So don't just rule out Sellafield as an option, or BAE or Siemens, the big employers, thinking that it's just engineering, because it's not. And I think that's the case with lots of jobs. Dig under the surface and find out what else is there. And like I said earlier, the NHS, there are probably getting on for 1,000 different jobs just within the NHS on all sorts of different levels. That there might be something there. Even if you are squeamish and you don't like blood, there are lots of jobs within the NHS that don't require you to be able to do those things. So it's that thing of research. Find out about the jobs that are available, find out the skills that are required, and find out, you know, if that's something that suits you.
Okay. I think that's all we've got for questions, Jo. So thank you so much for joining us today and delivering this fantastic presentation. We've got one person that's typing, so I'll see if it's a legitimate question. No, it's somebody saying thank you.
Oh.
So yeah, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I ran over a little bit, but I hope you enjoy the rest of the session. Take the opportunity and find out about what's available to you. And if you think of anything, ask questions maybe through your careers teachers, and they can ask me and I can get back to you. But have a good rest of your day and take care. Thanks for your time.
Also, I was just going to add, if anybody who's been watching today has any questions about their future career, you can head over to our careers advice area where Inspira advisors will be able to speak to you via live chat or video chat with any questions that you may have. Thanks now. Bye-bye.